really make a big difference in the bottom line, when you're looking at that overall budget.
Yeah, one thing that tends to creep up and cause a lot of people stress when it comes to their budget is the bar. Yeah, like hosting a large group of people and giving them alcohol, you just never know like how it's going to go down or how much money it could cost. And so there's a lot of really great ways to keep your bar costs in check without, like really depriving anybody of, the gift of libations.
Courage for the dance floor.
Right, some liquid courage. So, instead of doing a full open bar, like doing a signature drink and beer and wine is a great option. And choosing a signature cocktail that's not so heavy on the alcohol, like a spritzer or even like frosé, where they're, kind of essentially watering down the alcohol, but it basically stretches it. And it's a really great way to stretch your alcohol budget. So I really like suggesting that. And then also, you don't need a full arrangement or assortment of non-alcoholic beverages. Like just water and tea is fine. You don't need to have like 8 different varieties of sodas or juices or whatever else. Like that's just a good way to kind of keep some of those catering costs in check. Sorry.
No, that's a great suggestion, because you don't realize that the Cokes and the juices and all those things really do add up on that bottom line. So it's a great point that you can kind of eliminate those things and still give people a great experience. I like that a lot.
Yeah. And I think it's important to look through, your catering contract and see like all those sort of items and how they add up. And just keep an eye out for them, because that's something that you can easily cut that's not going to make a big difference for your guests. And also finding a venue that will allow you to bring in your own alcohol, whether it's bringing in your own wine and liquor. You have more control over the cost per bottle in those cases. When I was planning and looking at different venues, one venue was charging $40 per bottle of wine, and I went to Trader Joe's and bought my own wine for $3 chuck or whatever. So granted, I was very, very young and cheap, and we had to do it as inexpensively as possible. But
but even still, you could get a $10 bottle for significantly less if you're able to bring your own.
Absolutely. Then you're saving 75% off what the caterer would charge you. And so I think, finding a venue that would let you bring in your own alcohol is like a really, really great way to cut that cost out. And then another thing, speaking even as a former wedding invitation designer, I think you can totally DIY your wedding invitations. Like, I hope the invitation designers of the world don't come for me. But I used to be one, so I don't know. Now I give my templates away for free, because there are so many great templates you can get online, on Creative Market, on Etsy, that you can customize yourself, like with Microsoft Word, or free trials of different softwares that you can download and use just to customize them. And all you really need is the time to put them together. You don't need professional design skills or anything like that, much to my dismay as a graphic designer. But it's something that if you have the time to invest and you want to save the money, you can easily do that yourself. And it's something your guests are not going to know the difference about in the end. So
I think that's a great point. That's some really good tips on how to kind of save a little bit of money on that budget. How do you, and I'm going to throw you a little bit of a curveball here, but how do you make sure, if you spend, a big chunk in the beginning, at that point, what are your best tips for kind of tracking that money and making sure that you're staying on budget and not overspending, at the beginning?
Yeah, I think it's so important. I definitely 100% recommend figuring out like your total budget from the beginning and having kind of that like maximum number that you're not willing to go over, just to use as a guidepost along the way. And then obviously you're booking those big ticket items in the beginning, like the venue and the photographer, things that are going to cost a bit more, and kind of front loading it. So maybe that's coming from your savings or from the money that your families have chipped in. But I always recommend too, like taking a look at your personal budget, your monthly budget for both you and your fiance, and seeing, you know, ways that are, you know, how much can you save each month to put towards the wedding, or you know, maybe you even look at ways to like reduce your costs or your monthly expenses, cut back on something, cancel Netflix while you're engaged or whatever, to put that extra $10 or $15. They just raised the price. I think it's up to $13 or something like that now a month for Netflix, towards the wedding fund. You know, finding ways to combine things and reduce your monthly costs to put more towards the wedding, especially if you're working with a smaller budget and you're planning to take on a lot of that responsibility on your own. I think, you know, making a plan for how you're going to save along the way is really important.